Dear FBI, Apple is right and you're wrong. This is me in 2010, on the weekend the first iPad was released. I know, cute little nerdy Parker. But this is me earlier this month applying to an internship for Apple. You can say that I've been an Apple fanboy for as long as I can remember, but it's more than that. As both a university student and a freelance photographer, designer, and filmmaker, my education and career have been built with Apple technology as my main creative tool. Most people are like this. A recent CIRP survey found that there are 110 million iPhone users in the US alone. Considering the US has a population of about 322 million, this means that about 1/3 of all Americans depend on this technology as the basis of their digital lives.
There's probably more information about you on your phone than there is in your house. Our smartphones are loaded with our intimate conversations, our financial data, our health records. They're also loaded with the location of our kids in many cases. And so it's not just about privacy, but it's also about public safety.
These phones are more than just communication devices. They're the cornerstone to our digital lifestyles, and jeopardizing the privacy of them could be detrimental to the future of cybersecurity. But via a federal court order on February 1st, the FBI asked Apple to assist them further than they already have in accessing the phone of a San Bernardino shooter. Under the contents of the order, Apple's cooperation would achieve 3 tasks. It would allow the FBI to manually plug into the iPhone and try combinations, make sure the device does not auto-erase after a certain amount of tries, and will eliminate the increasing time delays between wrong passwords. This is a problem for Apple because the passcode lock and requirement for manual entry are at the heart of the safeguards built into iOS. Your iPhone can't be accessed from outside the iPhone, and getting into it is purposefully manual. That's why every time you get your password wrong, it takes a little longer to get into your phone. This ensures that the iPhone can't be accessed digitally. But the FBI wants Apple to write a currently non-existent firmware for the iPhone that would allow them to access the phone in this way with the speed of a modern computer. In other words, they want to have the ability to access your iPhone with brute force. So why is this dangerous? Because as the iPhone stands right now, it's an incredibly secure device. Not even Apple wants to access the phone in the way the FBI is asking because, according to their principles, we believe the contents of your iPhone are none of our business. Although they claim the firmware will only be used in this one instance on this one phone, and it could even be performed at a secure Apple facility, the problem with creating something digital is that once it's out there, and there's no being able to tell how it could be used. It's terrifying that if this software is created and handed over to the FBI, it has the potential to be in the hands of any individual that's dedicated enough. I mean, let's admit it. The FBI is not the most secure federal group. They were just hacked last month. To put it simply, this phone is like Pandora's box. Right now, it's sealed and it's safe. But as soon as it's cracked open even a little bit, we don't know what the outcome could be. It's open for good, and the landscape of cybersecurity could be changed forever. So how can the FBI order Apple to do this? Well, they're basing their argument on something called the All Writs Act. The All Writs Act states that courts can issue orders not covered by conventional laws in order to assist investigations. But that's pretty much it. The law doesn't say much, and it's concerning that it's so vague because that means it can be used in a lot of different ways with unrestricted power. But it gets even weirder. The All Writs Act was written in 1789 and signed by none other than George Washington. At that point, the telegraph hadn't even been invented yet. It seems like a pretty big stretch to use a 227-year-old law against private tech companies in 2016. I mean, if we're going to go by what George Washington said, we could just as easily go with, "The time is near at hand which must probably determine whether Americans are to have any property which they can call their own." But I think the biggest problem here is that this isn't about a single phone. This is about setting a legal precedent which could require federal agencies to request things from private tech companies which could undermine our privacy and security as customers forever. Federal intelligence members have admitted on record that the government has had other ways to access phones in the past that aren't necessarily right, but they work. If the FBI has had access to these other methods, usually called 0 days, why are they choosing now to seek different methods in court? In a brilliant essay by James Allred on Huffington Post, he points out how this logic can seem, well, a bit absurd. In the wake of a mass shooting, what should the government go after? Guns or iPhones? Well, anybody should be able to see that iPhones aren't the problem here, yet there remains to be any decidedly effective measures of gun control as a result of this. Instead, we're looking at changing the landscape of cybersecurity into something that could be potentially harmful to our personal information. Now, I realize that this is a complete exaggeration. The idea of gun control is totally separate from what the FBI is investigating in this case, but it's interesting to think about. Luckily for Apple, the tech community is rallying around this case. Companies that are pretty much sworn competitors are now joining hands in court to explain the potentially detrimental outcome of this case, and most importantly, demonstrate to the federal government the importance of encryption to ensure that Pandora's box stays closed.
David, some things are hard, and some things are right, and some things are both. This is one of those things.
And in this case, you believe there are some things that just should never be created.
Correct.
Dear FBI, some things are hard, and some things are right, and some things are both. I sympathize with you and millions of Americans that this is a horrific tragedy that should not have happened, and it never should happen again. I have no sympathy for terrorists, and I recognize the bravery of the work that you do, and I think it's very commendable. But I think Apple's protection of their principles here is just as commendable. It's hard to stand up against your government for something that you believe in. It's even harder when you have a deep respect for that government and the work that they're trying to do. The bottom line is that creating a backdoor to the iPhone will give opportunity to countless downfalls that we can't even predict right now. And an American society that's built around a digital lifestyle simply can't afford that. So dear FBI, Apple is right, and you are wrong. Okay, thank you so much for watching. This is an issue that is hugely important to me, and I really appreciate the way that Apple has approached this, trying not to step on people's feet. I really hope that I've been able to do the same. You know, I don't want to offend anyone. I'd love to see what other people have to say about this. If you go to parkergibbons.com/Dear FBI, you'll find a form that you can fill out that's like a Dear FBI form. You can write your own letter, and I'd like to compile a collection of some of the best arguments before the next Apple hearing, which is on March 22nd. So yeah, again, thank you so much for watching.